And a good late night Monday evening, everybody. Chris McDonald, we're back with you on our new side after a week of faith and revival and all that. And we really enjoyed that last week. Had a very beautiful Easter weekend set of services. We're back to sort of the news side of it this week. And we will have some faith shows mixed in. But I feel like we've got a faith show tonight with this guy. We're grateful to have our dear buddy back from overseas. Jeemes Akers, good to see you tonight, man. We've missed you and grateful to have you back. And we couldn't have asked for a better start to another week than have you as our late night guest, man. Good to see you tonight.
Good being with you, Chris. You and your listeners. Always a pleasure. Always an honor.
Now, I understand those Michigan Wolverines are the new NCAA champions this year, correct?
They are. It's a good game. UConn put up a good fight, but Michigan just too tall and too much firepower.
Yeah, they were a good team. They beat Tennessee by close to 40 points, and watching them dismantle our team, I knew that they were going to be tough to beat. Arizona I was shocked at how much they rolled over Arizona, really, in the Final Four. But that doesn't surprise me tonight. But congratulations to both teams, because UConn wasn't really expected to be there in the finals tonight. A lot of people favored Illinois, so it was a good final. And I like basketball. I don't worship it, but it's NCAA. Some resemblance of sports still left in it. So it was a good game for the Wolverines. I know a few Michigan fans that watch the show. I know they're happy tonight. So that's good, man. Hey, listen. There's been so much that has went on since we last saw you, just in the course of a few weeks. And I tell you, I'll just start out with the Bondi situation. I'll get your take on Pam Bondi. What was your when you heard that Pam Bondi got axed, the AG? What was your thoughts on that, good or bad? And we're gonna. By the way, let me just say this to the audience tonight, folks. We will take your questions, and we're going to get you to chime in on all these things later tonight. Just bear with us, because we're going to get your thoughts on Bondi and so forth. But James, what's your views? I thought it was overdue myself. I knew that he was growing frustrated with her and some of the botched things that she did with the Epstein files and so forth. I'm not saying she was a bad AG. I just feel like at times she was in over her head. And my brother said something to me after she got fired, and he said she's always been swampy. Like there's a feeling that she was almost working behind the scenes at times to sort of keep things under wraps that Trump wanted to be revealed. And if this story is true, I don't know if you heard this, that she is possibly linked to the leak to Eric Swalwell, about the Fang thing with China. And don't know how true that is, but it was a cauldron of, I think Trump had enough and he pulled the trigger. And what say you about all that?
Well, there is so much misinformation and disinformation, and when people fall from grace, all of this stuff sort of comes in. My personal take is I sort of like Pam Bondi, and I thought she was a good choice. I don't think she towed the line in the exact way that Trump wanted. But I think she's probably more than anything, more than her competence in office, and it's just my take, and I could be completely wrong, was that the politics of the situation dictates that Trump, and she won't be the last to go, dictates that Trump get rid of a couple of the unpopular cabinet members going into the midterms. And I think she was one of the casualties. She was probably an easy mark. There were several that were urging Trump to axe her, and from their perspective, this was a move that was long overdue. But from my personal standpoint is I sort of like Pam Bondi. In
your humble opinion, and I'm not going to say I disliked her. I'm not saying she did a horrible job, but I do have to ask you this: in your humble opinion, because the feeling is out there that Trump was upset with her, that she was not going after his political enemies, and I know that that's not the job of the Attorney General, and I think, James, we've had more than one discussion about this. I know that we don't need to go eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, because we both go blind if we do. I just believe that there was some things that had been done to Trump, and putting myself in his place with all these fake indictments and all of these things that the left tried to do to him, the raid on Mar-a-Lago, the J6 stuff, all these things that these people illegally did, unconstitutionally did, still are doing them, trying to do them tonight. I can understand his frustration, but I can see the other side too. Do you think that played into this, that ultimately it was about her slow-walking the prosecution of people he thought she should go after, and go after a little bit more fervently?
No, I think you're right on point with that. I don't think she went after Trump's enemies with the gusto that he was hoping she would when he appointed her to the office. You can argue whether that's a good or a bad thing, but I think that was certainly a factor in her dismissal.
Who do you think he's got waiting in the wings? Because I've read a lot of stories about Blanche, this guy that's filling in for her, and there's not a lot of. I mean, based upon, and like you said a while ago, I'll totally 1,000,000% agree. There's so much misinformation out there about the whole situation that you can shake a stick at it, but there ain't a lot of people that have got the warm fuzzies about Blanche no more than they've got about her. And who do you think? I've heard her meet Gillen tonight. Her name is coming up. Janine Pereiro is another one, possibly. You got any feeling of who he might be looking toward to replace her? And he's going to have to get her confirmed, him or she confirmed, whoever it is. And that's going to be a challenge in this atmosphere he's got right now on Capitol Hill.
Yeah, I think the only name I've heard mentioned is like his personal attorney, or the one that gives him advice, a name that I've seen come up. The judge that was on the 5 all the time, Janine
Pereiro. Pereiro.
Yeah, I personally like her. I think it'd be a tremendous choice for a number of reasons, but getting her confirmed may be tough, and so. I have no clue, to tell you the truth.
Okay. Well, that's fair enough. I tell you what, if you have no clue, then I'll throw my name in there and shock the world and see what happens, okay? I think I'd have to get a law degree, get in the White House, get in the cabinet first, and not be such a firebrand and loser in many eyes before I would probably have that chance. But, look, I wish...
It is a tough position. All of these cabinet posts, especially under Trump, are really difficult cabinet positions because you're under fire from the very first second from a bunch of these people that no matter what Trump does, it's going to be controversial, and so no matter who comes into office, you're not going to find anybody that is not going to enter the Attorney General's office without 2 strikes against them.
100%. 100% correct.
That's the world we're living in.
I do want to ask you a question along this, and we'll move on to something else after this. Has it caught your attention, as it caught mine when he fired her, that this is 3 for 3? He had problems with Sessions. He had problems with Barr, who Barr turned out to be an absolute betrayer, just a traitor, I thought, to President Trump. And then you have Bondi that he feels like didn't get the job done. At what point do we say, okay, President Trump, we understand your frustration, but you've got to pick somebody, you've got to know going in what they're going to give you. And if you don't, that's on him, is it not? That's not on the Attorney General. Look, I never was a fan of Sessions. I was shocked that he would go with the advice of George W. Bush Jr. for Bill Barr. Pam Bondi, I was sort of with you. I liked her. I even told our audience a year ago when the whole cabinet got chosen, give her a year. It was a lot of people that it was on our network and guests and people in the chat too. And everybody's entitled to their opinion. That just wasn't a fan. And I was like, well, let's just give her a year, see what happens. And now we're here. So where do you think he goes to advise to get this next one? Because this would be his last probably, because he's got 2 years, buddy, and then he's no longer with us after 28.
Yeah, it's just hard to know because political optics are now with the midterms are playing such a role, and they're with Susan Wiles and several of his other advisors who in terms of politics is really trying to preserve the last 2 years of his presidency, while still giving him the autonomy to act like he does in Iran or whatever. And that's a tough balance. It's going to be a very interesting final couple of years of his presidency, both in terms of the people that he entrusts to carry forward his mantle, and whether he'll be able to institutionalize some of these very substantial changes that have been made largely through executive order.
Yeah.
And unless I mean, you can talk about these personalities, and you know, he's almost certain to let a couple others go here to try to get some maneuvering space before the midterms. But unless Donald Trump institutionalizes, unless there is some sort of way to make some. In my mind, it's.
I'm sorry. I just, hey, I had my mic down. I had my mic down. Let me back up. I don't know how that happened. Let me just say, I was talking to James about Iran. I apologize for the mic issue. But they're going to have human shields. They're going to put human shields in front of these power plants. What's your thoughts on all this? I apologize, folks. The second time that's happened, that the volumes got adjusted without me touching it there. Go ahead. Sorry about that, buddy.
Yeah, well, we've seen that. We've seen this act play out before. Saddam Hussein did the same thing. Put people around strategic targets, and so it's an old ploy in the Middle East by these groups. But even more disturbing than that, I mean, we expect that sort of behavior from this type of regime. But even worse than that are the people in our own country that are saying to hit power installations amounts to war crimes, and the truth of the matter is Bill Clinton did it in Serbia.
Yes, he did.
Both Bushes did it in the Middle East.
Yes, they did.
And because it's a strategy that Trump is considering, all of a sudden it has this flavor to it, and it just goes to this just absolute partisanship and divided nature of this country. I mean, this regime had to go. If they would have acquired nuclear weapons, I'm not sure the whole thing is about nuclear weapons, but if they would have acquired nuclear weapons and with a delivery system, there is little doubt. It seems to me, in any reasonable person's mind, that they would have used them against Israel and the United States absolutely as soon as they could.
Well, I want to ask you this because we've not talked to you in about a week and a half, and I think it was right before you left, right after you left, that they found out that Iran's missile program had a higher range of basically accuracy than we were told. They hit the cargo island down there, I can't even talk tonight.
Carg
Island, and then also Garcia, and that was over 1,700.
Diego Garcia.
Diego Garcia. I've got 100 tabs in my mind sometimes, and I can't think of all of them at one time. But the range of that missile, James, was much higher than people gave Iran credit for. And I think you're right. And this is, I think, what's troubling Trump tonight. That's just my opinion. I think that he does not, we've come to know this about Trump. Trump tells you he's going to do something. You can take it to the bank. He's going to do it. He's not going to BS around with these people. And, he had a conference today, and he used a little profanity. He used a little language that a lot of, virgin ears probably he needed a swear job for. But look, he said what he said in principle was absolutely correct. We've had 47 years of presidents BSing with Iran. We've had 47 years of Iran BSing with us, telling us they're going to do the right thing. We had one president give them $150 billion in cash on a tarmac, believing they're going to do the right thing, which was absolutely foolish. It was absolutely foolish. And, he's just decided that he's going to put his stake in the ground on this. And whether you like that or lump it, I mean, the way I look at it, I'm okay with this. I'm not okay with $4 a gallon of gas right now. We've hit $4 a gallon of gas here in the South. I can only imagine what it is up north and out west. And there's going to be some short-term pain, but I will tell you this, we're going to be a safer, I'm not sure it's going to be a fully safer world, but at least one threat will be minimized, at least in the short term. And where it goes from there, nobody knows. But I do understand why he's doing this, and I think it's a fair assessment that presidents in the past have tiptoed around this, and they've allowed Iran to become the power they have been. If we'd have done this 47 years ago, buddy, if Reagan would have done it, then we may not even be here tonight.
I couldn't agree more. We have totally misplayed the Middle East for years and years, both Democratic and Republican administrations. We've allowed this regime of mullahs, and they're crazy because of their end of the world religious views. That makes them just totally dangerous and different than any sort of enemy we've faced before. Donald Trump has one chance to eliminate this problem, and if he backs away from it, we're going to deal with it forever, because after this, I am convinced no president is going to have the political courage to use military force in the Middle East again in our lifetime.
No, that's
in our lifetime.
James, that's an excellent point, and I think that you're right, and and I'll just go even a step further. I think that the other thing that is going to make or break this with public opinion is boots on the ground. And I keep hearing this. I heard it over, and we've been off the air as far as the news side for a week. We took a week off last week. We just worshiped the Lord, had a good revival week, but I was sort of watching at a distance with my sort of from the corner of my eye the news to make sure we didn't have Armageddon 6. And I kept hearing this over and over last week that he's considering boots on the ground. And I don't know if that's going to be a tipping point. We've already got these crazies out there that are saying some of the most uncouth things about it. But I think that if he starts putting boots on the ground, even the people like yourself and others that are just giving some common sense views and common sense ideas about what you believe is going to happen, I think that too is going to create a very serious. It's going to get real, as we say in the South. Things about to get real. If he puts boots on the ground, brother, it's going to get real in the Middle East and real in the White House.
Well, he has definitely assembled a special forces boots on the ground capability close to the region, and whether he'll use them or not, of course, he would like to get everything he could at the negotiating table, but. We'll see. Tomorrow night's the deadline, and now he's so far in it that he can't back away from it. If they don't come around by his deadline, something almost has to happen, and so tomorrow night at this time, maybe we'll know more.
We may be on the air tomorrow night at this time, so stay up and take your Geritol and take your a whiskey that you drink to keep stay away with me, because we might have you back on tomorrow night and have a panel or something. But you're right, buddy. And look, and I'm not trying to make light of this. It's a very troubling thing. Has it shocked you that this has gone on as long as it has? Do you think that he thought he could go in there and just bomb them away without and them breaking down? And you think he's been shocked at the resolve the Iranian government has shown in withstanding this? Because honestly, I mean, I know they've been pummeled, but the he's telling us that everything's been destroyed over there, but I don't know if the public gets that sense, Jeemes. I think the public gets this sense that Iran is standing up to the United States. That's just my take from this, looking outside, looking in. What's yours?
No, I thought I thought that it was going to be a very tall task. In the history of warfare, there has never been an incident where by virtue of an air bombing campaign that you've been able to affect meaningful regime change. And it just doesn't happen. And so there's we have the greatest military, the equipment that we're using over there, and the trained personnel, and kudos to this rescue attempt. And I know back in my Vietnam days, so we trained jungle survival. We trained for that same thing. If we were shot down in the jungles of North Vietnam, then there were elements in the military that would move heaven and earth to pull us out of there. And so I was I had a personal connection with this latest operation, and I couldn't have been prouder with the expertise, the way they pulled it off. So there's that capability, but against a dug-in, entrenched adversary like we're facing with Iran. It is virtually impossible to just bomb them to submission, even if you just make the rubble bounce. These people are very resilient because their religion demands it.
Well, go ahead.
And so I thought he was overly optimistic going in. Thinking that there would be common sense that would come into play, and surely they wouldn't want their own people decimated. But these people don't care about those sorts of things. They do not share one iota of Western value for life, or for the outcome of war, or all of those things that we take for granted, has no resonance whatsoever with the decision makers over there, no matter how many you eliminate and who steps up to the plate.
I think you just sort of summed up the problem we've got, because, as you said, if you're dealing with a regular regime, like if this was a conflict we were having with, say, Russia, or even China, or maybe, North Korea, which they're not much better than Iran. But if this was a conflict with any other nation, the heads of that nation, they have some understanding that their people would perish too if there was a huge exchange between the two superpowers. But like you just said, this is what makes Iran still a dangerous thing tonight, is that they don't care. The country could go nuked. They wouldn't care, because again, it's their apocalyptic view of the world that they're going to rule. Islam's going to rule the world through this Mahdi that they claim is what our Christian version of the Antichrist is. To be frank with you, that he's going to bring peace to this earth, but the way he brings peace is eliminating Israel off the map and causing the world to submit to him in submission to Islam. And it's a sick end-time view, but that's what we're dealing with. And I think maybe Trump knows that a little bit, but I'm not sure the American people are fully on board as to what we're dealing with. Is that a fair assessment, that we're not really out here in the public not sure what we're dealing with?
Yeah. Plus, I think there's some genuine confusion as to who is speaking for the Iranian government right now.
Good point.
Good point. I know the strategy had been to eliminate IRGC and the other discipline, the moral police, and to eliminate them, and to give sort of a pass for regular army units, with the hope that regular army would step up to the plate, take over the country, and you can have them military talking to military, and they speak sort of the same language of survival, and take out this radical end of times ideology out of the picture. And so it is yet to be determined if indeed regular army has stepped up to the plate, and they're the ones doing negotiation, or politicians that are looking for the future welfare of the country. There is a ton of confusion as to exactly who is speaking for Iran, and are they empowered to make the concessions that Trump wants them to make?
I don't think they are. I think that's the confusion of that is what has got the world confused, and I think that it goes back to Trump's going to have a lot of wisdom. And James, I don't know. This is a lot different than Syria. When he was that first term, We had the little excursion into Syria because they were using chemical weapons. He went in, he got out, took about 2 days, and Syria never used those chemical weapons again. This has had a different feel to it. And even the bombing in the summer, when we took out 90% of the Iranian nuclear capability, I think it gave. This is my opinion. I want to move on to something else after this because we'll keep folks monitored on Iran and what's going on there, because I do believe something big's coming tonight. It's already midnight in the east, getting close to midnight. So I mean, it's now the 7th or 6th of April or 7th of April, but I do believe you're right. And with Syria, it was quick in, quick out. Trump promised us no unnecessary war. This has got a whole different feel to it. And I'm just concerned. I don't want to see us bogged down in another Middle East quagmire. Iran is almost triple the size of Iraq. That's another thing we need to realize tonight. We're not dealing with a state the size of Texas. We're dealing with a state. It's a huge. It's over 1,000 miles wide, and is it not? I mean, it's the geography of this land. It reminds me of Afghanistan. Afghanistan is just not as big, but Iran's one of the biggest landmass countries in the Middle East. It's the Persian Empire.
Yeah, it's huge, and we just don't have really good intelligence. I'm saying that from a distance. We don't have good intelligence as to really what sort of fissures and crevices are in the body politic today. Most of the people that oppose the regime have been wiped out, and so the what comes next is what you're talking about, is the most troubling aspect of this. It is not a pure power equation, and we are used to, in the Western world, looking at things through pure power equations.
Great point.
And it's not going to work here. There are a number of spiritual things that come into play here, and it just has a different sort of feel to it. If I had to guess, I would guess that the Iranians are not going to be able to deliver verifiable concessions on the order that the United States needs to hear, and that over the next week you're going to see some sort of surgical special forces ground strike go into Iran, and once you do that, the political consequences of that are off the chart, and it could be a very interesting 2 weeks. I hope I'm completely wrong.
I don't think you're wrong. And that brings me to some other side issues relating to Iran. NATO has refused to help us. We have put over 100,000. It's just the dollars that we have put into NATO protecting Europe through the years and the decades, and our bases that we've invested millions of dollars in to protect them, Jeemes, not even us, to protect Europe from communism, fascism, other enemies, Islam, all these things. And all we have asked for is the use of their bases. You've got Spain, you've got France, you've got Germany thumbing their nose at us, and Trump has threatened to get out of NATO. And then you've got the head of NATO now, screaming and saying, we can't defend Europe without America. And he thinks Trump's bluffing. I got to ask you another question. Do you think Trump's bluffing? I don't. I think that the NATO people better understand that they're not dealing with Joe Biden or Barack Obama. And there's a story out tonight that if it's true, Barack Obama needs to be taken to jail as a traitor tonight, that he's been secretly talking to the NATO people and forming some kind of subterfuge group to handle the fallout if Trump pulls out of NATO, that Barack is going to do some kind of crazy thing with the country. That's treason, buddy. That's traitorous slogan act. You can't go performing military and international State Department business if you're not a State Department official, and he's not. He's just a washed-up former president.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's all that sort of lunacy that's going on. But the truth be known, I think even Trump's adversaries have to admit that in some respect, Trump was right. When the cards are down on the table, when push comes to shove, regardless of decades of military assistance and economic assistance that we have provided Europe, Europe will not have our back.
Right.
And
right.
I think that picture has to be clear to everyone except for the most zealous anti-Trump, the Trump haters. To any reasonable person, they're looking at this situation and saying, wait a minute, after all we've done for them, they cannot even help us superficially in this thing. So I think the American people sort of see that for what it is. And, there are the Democrats that are shouting the loudest, that'll try to get some sort of political mileage out of it. But in point of fact, even they have to know that in the future, the so-called allies will not be with us if it costs them anything, if they have to sacrifice anything to do it.
Do you think he gets out of NATO?
No.
You don't? You don't think he would pull the plug?
I don't think he'll pull the plug. I think he'll do everything possible that he can to reduce NATO's reliance on us. He's going to make them pull their own freight. But no, I don't think they're going to pull completely out of NATO.
All right, we'll see. But I will see. I tell you again, if we were dealing with a normal president, I would say you're right, but I'm not so sure about that. But we'll see. I tell you what we'll do. We'll wager a extra hot dog at the Reds game we're going to go see this year. Okay, on that. And see.
Oh yeah, I'll be glad to wager on that.
I'll wager a hot dog on that because I don't think Trump. When Trump says something, I've just come to realize Trump's just a no nonsense kind of guy. That's what we Southerners like, that Yankee. We like the Yankee in him. But anyway, hey, another thing related to this airman that got rescued, and I'm going to talk about the moon situation, which is a big milestone for our country. But what was your thoughts about this leak in the media that somebody evidently tipped off the Iranians that we had an airman down, and Trump's today basically saying that he's going to find that leaker, and that news organization, if they don't give him up, he's going to put them all in jail. Is that not sedition to you? Is that not serious stuff that we're doing to our enemies? Why is it that the left always sides with the commies, the jihadists, the Muslims, the enemies of our country, the illegals, and they just can't stand for America? They just can't stand up and you don't have to agree with every jot and tittle that Trump's doing, but you're first an American, man. We're fighting an enemy that wants to destroy us. And you don't leak stuff like that to the enemy when you're in a conflict like this. And look, we're grateful the two men were rescued, and they're rabid Christians, and I was so proud of their comments as they were rescued and gave God the glory, and one of them even spoke of Christ. And that's happening a lot in our country right now, James. But I tell you what, there's a lot of traitorous stuff's happening too, and it's disturbing to me. It's disturbing that we can't trust our media to do the right thing. We've not had that in a long time.
Yeah, if those reports are true, there is just no justifying that. They ought to prosecute those people to the full extent of the law, and yeah, I'm with you. There's just no way to rationalize that on ideological or any other grounds.
Well, there's rumblings tonight, and I hate to use a name because we want to make it clear we're not saying she did this, but there was a post right before we came on the show tonight of Jennifer Griffin of Fox. That they're looking at her because her husband works for NPR, which is nothing but a liberal rag. And, again, I don't know that to be true, but I'm with you. And Jeemes, it's one thing, they've been trying to get at Trump forever. Trump can't do nothing right. If he was to cure cancer, they'd find a reason cancer is good for people. But when you start giving secrets and, out and so forth, I think that sort of crosses the line. And I do. I hope he finds this leaker. I do. I hope he prosecutes them I hope they go to jail for a long time. I do. Let the media cackle. They need to be sent a message that this is unacceptable behavior. You're not going to do this to this government. You're not going to do it. But we'll see. One other quick thing. The firings of these heads of the military by Hexdeath, because again, we're talking about you with a lot of things tonight because we ain't seen you in a while. Were you on board with Hexdeath doing a house cleaning at DOD because he let some high-ranking generals go, and basically this wokeness of our military is getting weeded out day by day, is it not?
It is. There's a lot of firepower he let go. If he acted on the knowledge that these people, despite their high positions, were less than enthusiastic about what Trump is doing in Iran, then I'm all for what he did.
Yeah, I'm with you too, and there seems to be that indication that that's what the issue was. One of these generals, they always give themselves up after these things happen. They go out, and I don't know which Army general it was. We'll have these stories posted on our Telegram room tonight, but some of them, and then we'll have most of them tomorrow. We've took a sort of a day off today, but I know that one of them went out there and claimed that Hexdeath was guilty of war crimes. Good luck with that. No, he's not guilty of war crimes. He's basically executing a campaign at the bequest of the commander-in-chief. And I hate to tell him, but when you're fighting an Islamic jihadist enemy like Iran, that's not war crimes, Akers, is it not? That's being a good American and standing up for the red, white, and blue and freedom and saving Europe's backside.
Well, we have a whole lot of people in positions of authority that are confused as to what country they owe their loyalties to, period.
Yeah. I'm with you, buddy. Hey, final thing. I know it's late. We're going to get you back on this week because, again, we're catching up, and this is our first news show, and I was almost debating whether to come on tonight, but I felt like with everything going on, we needed to discuss it. And, folks, we got your questions coming up here shortly. Deanna Salem, good to see you, Deanna. She says something about the Iranian situation, and I think it's an excellent comparison. She said it's almost like Japan and those kamikaze bombers, and also their resistance to surrender. And had we not used a bomb, they may not have ever surrendered to this day. Excuse me. Do you see that kind of scenario possibly out there happening? I mean, I know that's extreme, but her point is well taken because Japan didn't give up until Truman absolutely did not. He tried everything to get them to surrender after FDR died, and they just wouldn't do it. Do you see the same thing here?
Yeah, and they wouldn't have, as a historical sort of note here, they would not have surrendered when they did, but we told them that we had several atomic bombs when in fact we only had the two that we used.
Right. That's interesting.
And so they thought that we had several more, and that's what drove them to the negotiating table. Otherwise, culturally, they would have never surrendered. It wasn't in their DNA, and it's sort of an apples and oranges comparison between an Asian mindset and the extremist mullah mindset that is driven by religious fervor. But I can see where your listener would make the comparison. It's a very interesting one to make.
Yeah. And I'm not saying it's not a good one, because I think that they're that crazy. That's the thing. They are that nutty, as we have talked about tonight. One final thing with you tonight, I'll let you go and get some rest. Thank you for staying up with me late. I know that adrenaline is flowing from that basketball game, so I figured I had to at least get you for 45 minutes before you gave out on me. Isn't it wonderful that because of I believe it's all because of President Trump too. We've actually stepped back on. We're getting ready to get to the moon again. First time in 50 years, I think. That's a big accomplishment. We should celebrate that. And some on the left are making issues about it, but I think it's a good thing that we're doing that. What's your thoughts about that? There's some stunning pictures that have started to come forth from that Artemis II expedition, and our prayers for those astronauts tonight. It's just unbelievable that we're here, and with all the failures that have, I'm thinking of the Challenger back in '86 and the other things, and space programs sort of being in a standstill. But this is a big deal, is it not?
Well, it is, and I look at it through a different set of lenses. NASA was desperate for some sort of success to justify their future existence, especially with SpaceX and all the private concerns, which were running laps in terms of efficiency around NASA. And NASA had become a bloated bureaucracy. And so instead of landing someone on the moon, what they've done is they've launched, and they're getting good political PR mileage out of. They've gone further than any other program has ever gone, and you have the pictures coming back. But this is NASA's play to get funding for future years. Make no mistake about it.
Yeah.
And that said, Chris, I agree with you. It's a marvelous technological achievement, and we should celebrate it.
Yep, I'm with you, buddy. Buddy, it's been such a pleasure to have you tonight. Please know that we're going to get you back on this week, and we're going to monitor this thing later today. We'll see what happens, and you may be back, later tonight. I'm going to reach out to Brad and see if he's available, and we were going to do a panel with y'all, and then we had a break, and so we're back to regular programming now, and we definitely want to do that soon. But final thoughts tonight. I want to say this before we leave. I've really been pleased in the sports world, the military world. It seems like there is a revival of people that are proud to name the name of Jesus publicly, and baseball players, basketball players, just people that are not ashamed of their faith. And, the astronaut was giving glory to God in space, and then this pilot that basically, I don't know if you heard about it, he climbed 7,000 feet up a cliff to hide from his captors. This was not some rookie pilot. This was a soldier. But when they found him, he said God is good, and he gave glory to Jesus. And James, I'm grateful that we're seeing that in our country. I pray it's sincere. I'm not one to question those things. God knows the motive of the heart. But it is good to see the public profession of faith. And I think we're going to see more and more of that. That's the only thing we can hold on to right now in these days, buddy, because I don't think these days are going to get any less tumultuous. I think they're going to get more tumultuous, and we're going to be on these shows late at night more and more talking about stuff just like we're talking about tonight.
No, I agree with you, and I too celebrate anytime anyone lifts up the name of Jesus Christ, because he is risen. That's what this whole season is about.
Absolutely, buddy.
We're talking about these other faiths. Muhammad's dead in the grave. Gautama Buddha is dead in the grave. All of these others, only Jesus Christ did what he did on the cross and was resurrected, and that's what this season is. And anytime anybody lifts up the name of Jesus Christ, I am always for that. And I think we're going to see more of this going forward. There is going to be a divide between those that embrace evil and those that embrace God, and you're no longer going to be able to have a foot in both camps. You're going to have to decide one way or the other. And for those that make the decision to lift up Jesus Christ, I am all for that, 100%.
Me too, buddy. And I think you're right. And I think there is a dividing line, and it's a big one. It's a big one. Listen, I'm going to let you go. I hope you have a great night. Thank you for your time tonight with us, and it's been so good to see you. And listen, we've missed you. We're grateful you're back, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you quite a bit more. And I'll see you in about a month and a half or so at a Reds baseball game. We're going to get together for some fellowship up in Cincinnati, and I appreciate you much, man. You know, you're blessed and very appreciated and cherished here on this network.
Thanks so much, Chris, and you have a good evening. And I'll stay tuned for tomorrow night. It could be one of those watershed type of events for our place in history. So
I think we may be. I've just got a gut. We're going to be on live tomorrow night late too. So maybe not by choice, but that's something that we'll stay posted with you about, and we'll see where we're going to be at tomorrow. God bless, James. Have a good night, everybody. Be blessed, my friend. Thank you.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Jeemes Akers, everybody. Put some fire in that house. He stayed up with us late, and I'm grateful for him. We're not going to keep you much longer. I do want to read some comments that are over on Facebook tonight, and some of these are very good comments, and we're sorry for the sniffles tonight. But Elaine Willard says, I think that Iran intends to force the president's hand because of the attitude of many people in the U.S. and the world. That's perhaps true, Elaine. I hope that they don't. I hope they'll come to their senses. Cleo says they're happy to be martyrs while they don't give up. That is exactly right as well. Also, let's see here. Elaine mentions Vietnam. Vietnam that's true, but the thing with the Vietnamese, they wasn't like these mullahs, though, Elaine. I'll agree with you, Vietnam was bad, and James was a Vietnam vet. But I will say that the thing about the Vietnamese, they didn't have a death wish. They didn't have a death wish. These mullahs don't care. And, you know, Deanna's point about the Japanese and us having to nuke them, the two nuke bombs that we dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, they instantly surrendered. There was no ifs, ands, buts about it. You drop a nuke on Iran, they wouldn't care. To them, their people are expendable. They would not be putting these people in harm's way as shields. And it's funny to me, and that's not funny, ha-ha. It's the same tactic as Hamas. It's the same tactic as Hezbollah. It's the same tactic as the Houthis. All these Islamic jihadism movements that are seeking the destruction of both Israel and the United States and wanting to hold the world hostage, they always have this this stamp on them that they always use innocent life to shield themselves from the attacks of those that we try to destroy them. And that's that. Your point on Vietnam is well taken. The Vietnamese were very brutal people, but they didn't have a death wish like these balls do. So that's well taken, and your point is well taken. And it's funny, Pat and Deb Dillon, good to see you tonight. You're saying China. I actually read a story out of Just the News, Pat and Deb, tonight about China. In fact, it may have been on Breitbart even, that there's some concern by military people tonight that China is looking at this, and I'm not saying they're going to do it, but there are military experts that share your concern that we are opening ourselves up to being vulnerable to a China attack on our soil because of what's going on with Iran. In other words, I don't think they believe that we're strong enough to walk and chew gum. I would caution the Chinese tonight. Again, they're not dealing with Joe Biden. And look, this thing can go a number of ways, and I think the next 24 hours is going to be very riveting to watch and riveting to monitor. And but there is your concerns are well noted, because that is actually concerns of other military people that I've read behind tonight. I've read a few statements by some military people, and that's exactly what they said too. They said China's laying in the weeds, and they're watching what's going on, and if they see that they've got a moment, they could do something crazy, and I wouldn't put it past the Chinese to do that. They are an enemy. They are an ardent enemy. Them and Iran, to me, are 1 and 2, North Korea being number 3, and there's other nations out there that don't like us, but those are the top 3. It's well said, and a good point. It's good to see you guys tonight. It really is. Good to see all you folks over. I had a good crowd on Facebook tonight. Melinda Lynn, good to see you tonight. Joan, Patty, Cheryl. And Jeemes is the best. Jeemes is the best. The hostess is not too bad either. Hostess is not too bad either. Grant, they are a death cult. They are very much a death cult. And it is very serious. It's a very serious situation. Now, a couple of quick questions. It's 12:38. I'm going to keep you we've been going right at an hour and 2 minutes. I'm going to keep you another 10 minutes max. We got plenty of video, a lot of video. I've not even got to the crazy stuff that's going on with Candace Owens and Tucker and all that stuff tonight. I don't have time to get into that this morning. And we got a Tuesday night program coming up. We're trying to get our guests sort of lined up this week. Trying to get Eric Karen on. A lot's going to depend on what happens today in Iran, what kind of show we're going to have tonight. We'll have our Wednesday night face show, of course, Thursday night, Friday night. It'll be late. But we're going to be monitoring this. But this does not stop the crazies. And there's so many things out there that are just sickening to my stomach. You've got these podcasters, some of them that are literally claiming that America staged the airmen being rescued, and it's some kind of conspiracy cover-up to hide war crimes. And there's even Joe Kent out there tonight, the former Department of Homeland Security guy that got fired, basically saying that we were trying to kill him. We were the ones trying to kill him. Tucker Carlson claiming that the book of Esther is a book of the destruction of 45,000 Persians or something, that's what the story of Esther is about, that it was the destruction, and that's why we're doing what we're doing in Iran. He believes Trump's the Antichrist. I've heard that one from far less than Tucker. And I don't even say he's less. But he's not if he thinks that's original, he needs to check the X and the Telegram room. There's a lot of other crazies that believe that crap. But there's just a lot of stuff out there that we'll get to maybe this week. with some video and talk about. But tonight I want to just deal with this. If you've got any statement, but I do want to ask you a question as we close tonight. We've not been on in a week, and again, Pam Bondi got fired. How many of you, and I maybe should start a poll. I'll just take a poll with the chat. How many of you are okay with what happened with Pam Bondi, and who would you pick as a possible AG? Let's talk about that for the last 10 minutes of the show tonight, and we'll talk about that. And who would you have replace? Who would you have place in her place? And I'll see what we kind of response we get. Are you in agreement? Are you in agreement with him firing Pam Bondi? If you are, say yes. If you're not, say no. If you say yes, give me who you would replace her with. If you say no, tell me why you wanted her to stay. And we'll talk about that. I do have, let's see here. I think I got a couple of short videos we can play here tonight. Let's see what we got here. Speaking of the moon, I mentioned this earlier. Look at this picture right here. That is some of the images coming out of Artemis 2. Isn't that beautiful? That is as close of a moon picture that we've gotten of the moon in 50 years. And that's video from today. And I think it's tremendously powerful. And then we've got this video. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? And that is live video. That is live video from earlier tonight or this afternoon when they were circling the orbit, and I'm sure more video of that's coming. Here's President Trump about the failed reporter. Then we're going to take your comments on Pam Bondi, and we can get out of here tonight.
As you probably know, we didn't talk about the first one for an hour, and then somebody leaked something, which we'll hopefully find that leaker. We're looking very hard to find that leaker. And talked about there's somebody missing. They basically said that we have one and there's somebody missing. Well, they didn't know there was somebody missing until this leaker gave the information. So whoever knows it, we think we'll be able to find it out because we're going to go to the media company that released it, and we're going to say, national security, give it up or go to jail. And we know, and you know what we're talking about, because some things you can't do, because when they did that, all of a sudden, the entire country of Iran knew that there was a pilot that was somewhere on their land that was fighting for his life. And it also made it much more difficult for the pilots and for the people going in to search for him. All of a sudden, they know that there's somebody out there. They see all these planes coming in. It became a much more difficult operation. Because a leaker leaked that we have one, we've rescued one, but there's another one out there that we're trying to get. So actually, the country, Iran, put out a major notice, you all saw it, offering a very big award for anybody that captures the pilot. So in addition to a hostile, very talented, very good, very evil military, we had millions of people trying to get it to work.
And that's the leaker story. We're going to follow that, see where that leads as well this week. Trump's not too happy about it, and he shouldn't be. He shouldn't be too happy about it because somebody, that pilot could have got killed. Tim Neal says yes. Pat Debellin, yes. Tim says Ted Cruz. Cheryl says yes. It was right for him to fire Ted Cruz. It's a good one. Bongino says the acting AG Blanche would be a good choice. More hands on them Bondi and loyal to the president. I hope that's right, Cleo. I hope that's true. I've heard the other way. We'll see. We'll see about that. Let's see here. On Facebook, YouTube tonight, Rosemary Arnold. We got mainly yeses that they are glad she's gone. Praying the right person will be picked. And let's see here. Ted Cruz's name. That's two Ted Cruz's I've seen. And Stephen Miller's name's out there. Blanche's name's out there. Judge Janine Pereiro. And her name is out there. And I have a lot of respect for Dan Bongino. If Dan Bongino is saying that about Blanche, then he's probably got the ear of the president. So we got Blanche, Ted Cruz, Judge Janine, as possible replacements. And that's good stuff there. I don't think there's anybody in that chat tonight that believes it was a bad decision to fire her. I'm gonna say what James says. Look, I don't think she was a horrible AG. I had a lot of problems with her, even at the beginning, of spending too much time on Fox News and trying to be the darling of Fox News instead of doing her job. As far as I'm going to probably differ with James a little bit on this next statement. I don't believe that we needed to have an eye for an eye and revenge for the things that were done to Trump going back to 2016, to be frank with you. With all the lawfare, the Russiagate, the impeachment scandals, what Comey did, McCabe, Rod Rosenstern. Mueller's dead, by the way. Since we've last seen you, Bob Mueller died last week and a half ago. The guy that was the instigator of Russiagate, the investigator. And then you start talking about the Obama situation, the Biden situation, the Biden Justice Department, Merrick Garland, Eric Holder, Loretta Lynch, talking to Bill Clinton on that tarmac, and then a day later the charges against Hillary are gone. I think people get revenge confused with justice. And the way I look at it, you knew that the Democrat AG was not going to look into these things. We had a chance. There's a lot of people that are still in prison from J6 that are wrongly there. We've had a couple here. We talked to 2 months ago from Ohio that were wrongly accused, and they're still fighting some things off of the government from that. Now the statute of limitations is gone. Can't do nothing about anybody that had any hand in that. You can't go after that J6 committee. And I just think that she drug her feet, and I do. I was never looking for revenge, but there were some serious legal things and illegal things that were done to President Trump. There were things that were unconstitutional. His civil rights were violated. And folks, beyond him being a president, he wasn't president for the 4 years between 2020 and 24. He was just an American citizen. But you cannot go into a courtroom wrongly accusing him and using the law to basically settle a political vendetta. And Fannie Willis and Alvin Bragg and Letitia James, and you've got these judges, these rogue judges that are stepping in and intervening and trying to run the country from the bench. It's illegal. And I feel like Pam Bondi could have done a lot more to deal with that as an attorney general. Nothing was done. And I just, maybe, I need to get Judge Sherilyn Allen on here talking about the legality of some of this stuff. Sometime we need to get her back on soon. But I just feel like that Pam was slow to do that. And maybe, right or wrong, as James says, he said, whether it's prosecuting your political enemies is right or wrong. I don't call it political enemies. Look, they wasn't just political enemies of Trump. Folks, these were people that were enemies of the United States of America. You don't do the things they were doing. And let me tell you the hypocrisy of it all. Let me just give you the hypocrisy of it all. Eric Swalwell, for the last 6 months, has been calling Trump a pedophile, claiming that Trump's in the Epstein files, and that's his cry has been, let's release all the files that we can, so we can get Trump. And every media outlet, and there's been libel, there's blood libel, there's been blood libel on The View, claiming that they've seen things in the Epstein files that says he's with 13-year-olds, when there's nothing like that. And they want full disclosure. Full disclosure. Well, all of a sudden, he got tipped off, and this is what, there was one story, where did I see this from? This was not some left-wing loon or hard right website, but there was a story out last week that one of the reasons that Pam Bondi got fired was that she had leaked stuff to Eric Smallwell to give him a heads up the FBI had an open case on him. And it didn't sit too well with Trump. And he's all of a sudden, when he was wanting full disclosure of anything that we needed to declassify, well, all of a sudden he wrote a letter today or yesterday or Friday maybe to Patel, told the FBI, if you release this file on me and Fang Fang, I'm going to sue you. Well, what happened to let's have all the full disclosure? The government don't need to hide stuff, Eric. You can't have it both ways. But in Washington, D.C., they have it both ways. Now, if you go after Eric Swalwell for his ties to China, his illegal ties, his illegal bonds to them, and by the way, there's rumblings tonight, Breitbart, that he's about to be facing several sexual harassment claims and things. The Democrats are about to throw him to the curb. It's not coming from the right. That's coming from the left. So they're scared of what's about to be revealed in those files with him and Fang Fang. So all of a sudden, we don't want disclosure no more. We want disclosure of the Epstein files, but we don't want disclosure of the Smallwell files. That's hypocrisy. That's not a political enemy of Donald Trump. That's a political enemy of the United States of America. So it's not going after his political enemies. And that's my opinion. So, and whether it's fair or unfair, I think Pam Bondi was ultimately judged about her screw up with the Epstein files. She promised a lot, didn't deliver. It got people's feathers up out here. I had people in this show getting their feathers up about it. And people wanted blood, and they wanted that list released. And then when she came out, it was like a dud. I mean, it busted a bubble, and I think he felt the same swelling under the earth as he felt under Kristi Noem. And Kristi Noem's situation has gone from bad to worse since she's been gone. And there's a lot of voices in Congress that still want Bondi to come testify for those files. But the story that, to me, that is a distraction to the bigger story of this developing story with Smallwell, because this is not about Fang Fang and a bunch of women claiming he's made passes at them. Folks, this is about American secrets, not political secrets, but military secrets, high-level, CIA-level, high-level intelligence that was given to the Chinese government through a Chinese spy, and yes, it was a woman, likely sleeping with Smallwell, or Swalwell, whatever his name is. That's big. That's big. Because Fang Fang ain't dead. And that spy ain't dead. Jeffrey Epstein is. You can't bring Jeffrey Epstein and do any more to him than you've already done. And unless Ghislaine Maxwell starts talking, the Clintons ain't going to talk. We've already seen that. They've lied their way out of this, at least for now. But I think ultimately that was her downfall. And, Trump has been very gracious in the things he said about her, but I've heard that he's not been that happy. And it is treason, Carol. It is nothing but treason. It is treason. Yeah, Grant, he said that he's scared of the government by saying he'd sue. Go ahead. Carol, we just mentioned that she leaked to Swalwell the files that were going to be released. I just said that. So, and I think Stephen Miller would be a great AG. And Carol, I don't care about Steve Bannon. I hate to tell you, I hate to bust your bubble tonight. I could care less whether he won. Steve Bannon is a rabid anti-Semite that I think he is no better to me than the Tuckers and the Candaces and the other Hodge twins and the scumbags of the earth that have no clue as to what's important with our country. He's just a voice. As far as this case to the Supreme Court, that case, basically what it said. I had the story in my mind. I've got a million tabs open tonight, but him winning that case doesn't move me one bit about Steve Bannon. I have no respect for him, so I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I'll leave it at that. Let's see here. Good to see everybody. And Elaine, I don't know. I'm sure the flag that we planted there's still up there. They just, as far as I know, it's still there. I think that they were just that we just showed. That video you saw was just sort of half of the. They were just flying halfway. That's not even the full moon. I can't wait to see some more of these pictures. I'll close with this tonight. I would have had to have been 7 years old, I think, 7 or 8, when the very first moon expedition went up, and maybe a little younger. I never will forget, as a little boy, how excited I was, and I would go to bed those nights that those astronauts were up there, and I would look up to the ceiling. And as a little boy, I would say a prayer, as only a 5, 6, 7-year-old kid could, for those astronauts. And I never will forget the excitement. And I felt sad. I did. As a child, we have different emotions than we do when we're this age. I felt sad that they were that far away from home. And I never will forget the excitement I felt, even as a child, seeing that spaceship come back to Earth. And it was a big deal then. And, I felt a little bit of that, watching that rocket go up into the air. We all witnessed the horror of the Challenger in '86. It really hurt the morale. Reagan was president then. And, NASA has been on they've been reeling from that really for 40 years now. And I think Jeemes was spot on. I mean, their existence has been even called into question. So I'm proud. I'm glad this has gone well for them. And I think we should all be happy for that tonight. But those images are startling. And, folks, I love my country. I want to go out with saying that tonight. I love America. And I love that nation of Israel, too. We're tied together. We're connected. We're connected. If you were with us in Dalton, we talked about the connection between the nations, and it's deep. It runs deep. It runs to the heart and the soil, S-O-I-L, of this nation, and the soul of this nation. And but I'm an American, and I'm grateful when America succeeds. I'm happy when we win. I'm happy when we do well. I'm happy when our economy's going well. I'm happy when we got faith in this nation again, in our schools, and faith in our sports, and faith in our events, and people are not ashamed to talk about Jesus. That's a good thing. But you got people in this country that feel totally opposite. It's like they almost rejoice in destruction. They rejoice when things go bad, and it's sad to me that we've reached that state, and it's something that we must stop, because I want to see America succeed, and I think most of you in this audience do tonight. We are right at 1 o'clock in the East. It's late. Took the day off today after the week we had. I needed a day off, but I got back on here tonight. We'll be back at it tomorrow. See you in the morning on the Bible study, and then we'll see you tomorrow night back here. We don't have a time yet. We're trying to get the week planned with our guests this week, but we will be monitoring the situation with Iran. And we hope that you'll stay with the Mac Files and so forth. Some good answers tonight, good questions. Good to see everybody in the house. We're grateful for every one of you. And we're so wonderfully blessed to have all of you in the house, and we thank you for being with us tonight. If you enjoyed the show, put some fire in that house. I want to thank my buddy Jeemes Akers. He was wired up watching that basketball game, so I figured I'd get him. I could squeeze another 40 minutes out of him, and we did. So I'm grateful for him. I'm grateful for you being with us tonight. It's been a great journey with you these last 8 years, and we're going to be journeying along with you. And we'll be back here tomorrow night, the Lord willing. We will be monitoring things in Iran and other parts of the country. We got a lot of video to show you. Got a lot of things to share with you tomorrow night. So if I don't get a guest, you'll just have this old gray-headed dude run his mouth at you again, all right? And which won't be the worst thing, I don't think. God bless you. God bless your families. God bless this great nation of America. Much love tonight, and prayers for the great nation of America, the nation of Israel, all of you out there tonight. We love you. We appreciate every one of you. And we'll see you back here tomorrow, starting in the Bible study in the morning. Come join us there if you can. And then we'll see you back here tomorrow night on the news side. God bless you guys. Have a good night, everybody. Be blessed out there.